Don't just assume because you set your mitre saw up to cut perfectly square before that it's going to stay like that. So one thing that I always like to do if I'm going to start a project that requires perfectly square cuts, I'll just take a scrap of timber like this and I'll just do a test cut. Now let's just use this as a reference. So the back of the cut like this was against the fence, and also the bottom of the cut here was against the bottom of the saw. Okay, so what we want to do when we check our angles, if you do have an engineer's square, it's so much better for checking angles because they are made with better precision than a combination square. If we take our measurement for squareness from these two pencil mark edges, I can double check there that that was set up perfectly square and cutting the last time I used it, but it's moved out maybe a quarter of a millimetre, so I know that I need to adjust it. And by having the marking at the back, and we look where the gap is, that gives us a better indication as to which direction we need to move the saw to make it nice and square again. And then the same for the bottom. Take our measurement for squareness from the bottom, and we see that also has a tiny little gap. So don't just assume that your tool is going to stay perfectly square, because quite often they don't. You want to make sure that your machines are cutting perfectly square, so always just have a tester before you commit to a project.